Now, the last 3 years, we've been in a situation at Arsenal where we should at least bring a cup, whatever it is, or a final. Man United played 5 finals in their last 5 years. The United that everyone loves at.
Thierry Henry has come out in the Stick to Football podcast and insisted that Arsenal should be winning trophies, that they're doing terribly in domestic competitions compared to a Man United side. And it's one of the most controversial clips throughout the whole podcast. What's going on, people? Urson here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be reacting to Thierry Henry's appearance on the Stick to Football podcast. He joined Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Jill Scott, Roy Keane, and Ian Wright to talk all things football, talking about his career, playing for Juventus, the traitor that was actually not a traitor, which blows my mind, the striker Arsenal should sign, and his overall view on Arsenal. In the introduction, you see the clip, he insists that Arsenal should be winning trophies. And everyone is up in arms about it, so we're going to react to the whole shebang. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button and subscribe. We're almost on 775 subscribers. Please, I'm trying to work as hard as possible to get to that milestone. But yes, the podcast has 1.3 million views. It was uploaded 2 days ago. Last night, I sat down with my notepads and I jot down everything he spoke about. I've also got some clips that I could share with you guys in the podcast. We're going to react to it again and go through it. With Thierry Henry, he is one of the greatest Arsenal players of all time. One of the greatest players the Premier League has ever seen.
I'm not going to pretend I'm an Arsenal fan more than I am or a guy that was born and raised as an Arsenal fan. But I understand. At the very beginning, you arrive. By the way, we won the Cup 2020, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
3 years. And Roy can tell you, you also coach, you're in a situation at the beginning where it's not your team. You need at the very least 3 to 4 transfer windows to be able to change everything that you want to change. Get rid of the guys that are on a good contract, that don't want to leave, that maybe don't like the way you play or you don't like the way they play. So it takes time. Whether we finish 8th, we were not great, you have to give a manager time to be able to implement what he wants to do. So 3 years. Now, the last 3 years, we've been in a situation at Arsenal where we should at least bring a cup, whatever it is, or a final. Man United played 5 finals in their last 5 years. The United that everyone loves at played 5 finals. In the last 3 years of building that building, you didn't reach a final.
Now, this clip of Henry talking about Arsenal's lack of success has driven so much controversy amongst the Arsenal fan space. People have taken it as an excuse to mock Arteta, to laugh at Arteta, saying that Henry has challenged Arteta, criticised him, blamed him for Arsenal's failure in the domestic cups. When, if you've actually watched the podcast, after the clips, which we'll go through, he's just been concerned with our injury record and the lack of ability to sign a striker, saying that we should be winning trophies if Man United can do it, and everybody is laughing at them. His point was that Arsenal should be winning trophies. In the last 3 years, we've had back-to-back second-place finishes. The comparison with Man United is a bit far-fetched for me because he could compare this Arsenal side to the Liverpool side that just won the league title. The same Liverpool side that have won a Carabao Cup and the FA Cup over the past few years. Last year they won the Carabao Cup, having beaten Chelsea in the final, the £1 billion bottle jobs. People don't think about that. People forget about that. Or that Liverpool side that reached the Champions League final, took it to the final day of the season with Liverpool, but won the FA Cup and the EFL Cup against Chelsea in the final. That's what Henry could have compared us to. But I think because he's with United pundits, with Roy Keane, and Gary Neville, he brings up Man United, and they are the biggest topic, having lost to Tottenham in the Europa League. And he's right. Why aren't we winning domestic competitions? Why are we going 5 years without a trophy, bar a community shield? Why aren't we winning semi-finals? Yes, Arsenal are too good to be playing in the Europa League, but we are not too good to be winning a cup.
So I do understand when people ask the question, surely you should have compete for a trophy, being in the final. Or this year we didn't compete with Liverpool. I don't know what people think, but we didn't compete not once.
Clip in mind, it's circulated all over Twitter. People are very angry about it. You know, we haven't competed with Liverpool at once. Henry isn't making a bad point here. Last season, we took it to the final day of the season, and while Henry in the podcast has insisted that Arteta has done a great job, why aren't we winning a Carabao or a domestic cup? Why aren't we being competitive to win a trophy alongside competing for a league title? And you got people in here, this has 70,000 views, saying that Henry is toxic, he's just a player, he's jealous of Mikel Arteta, he'll do anything in this position. But he's called out Arsenal for failing to win trophies. Artesexuals are going against Thierry Henry but wanting trophies at the club, like a normal fan Arsenal would want. You know, this it shouldn't be that controversial as an Arsenal fan. It's true. But then you get random tweets like this. Henry has fallen for the Gary Neville clickbait commentary. He can't say anything in the manager's presence. Yes, he can. He's an invincible. He's the last player to win a league title at Arsenal. Henry was also unhappy with the injury issues that we've had at Arsenal.
But I can go back to time also where we had injuries at Arsenal and no one raised nothing. 2006, look at the injuries we had. Nobody said anything. Nobody said, we finished. The only thing I was happy with we passed Tottenham on the last day. That's the only thing I shouted a bit about. But other than that, you finish in the top four and you go in the Champions League final.
But at the same time, no one raised questions was because injuries was never a big topic in football.
And you didn't win. Do I think that Mikel is doing a great job? Yes, he's doing a great job. What do they need?
So for every Arsenal fan that's been cussing out Henry, he is willing enough to admit that Arteta has done a great job. But they read onto the clickbait that Sky will do, that all the other media presenters would do, with some statements and be like, he hates the manager. The guy just wants to win trophies. The guy wants to win things. He wants to see us go to another final in the Champions League. He's an Arsenal fan like all of us. Yes, Wrighty's up there, but Wrighty's more Arteta in than Arteta out. Yes, there's a lot of Arsenal fan channels like myself that are more Arteta in than Arteta out have been the past few years. And there's a lot of Arsenal fans that are Arteta out, like Lee Gunner, for example. But Arsenal have won nothing this season. Gary Neville then asked Thierry Henry, what do Arsenal need to win a trophy next summer? Ian Wright literally says Seshko and Gyökeres, right? Insinuating that Arsenal are linked with both players, which Henry absolutely blanks. And he gives out the transfer he wants to happen. A striker that he rates. And it ain't who you think it is.
My favorite nine out there at the minute is Julian Alvarez. And you know, we've been talking about it, putting pressure, playing alone, low, whatever you want to do. You see the free kick he scored the other day? He can hold the ball alone. He played at the Olympic Games. He played the Copa America. I don't hear him saying, I'm tired, I'm not tired. He plays it. Hopefully, nothing bad's going to happen to him. He played everything.
Julian Alvarez is massively rated by Thierry Henry as a striker that has blossomed at Atletico Madrid, that has taken the games to his opponent, someone that's won the Copa Libertadores at River Plate, featured in the Copa America, World Cup, and the Olympic Games. That was the big point, the talking point of Arsenal. He even comes out saying Arsenal chose to sign Sterling and it's not worked out. That, oof, we didn't want a striker when we were winning, but as soon as we were losing, we needed a striker. And back to my point about Seshko and Gyökeres. Jamie Carragher literally puts it on the plate and asks Henry who Arsenal should sign.
The two that get mentioned a lot, I see with Arsenal, Gyökeres and Sesko is obviously a very young one. Do you think if Arsenal sign one of them for next season, do you think that are they good enough to take Arsenal to the title? Because that's going to be the pressure on whoever is signed as the striker.
That's the thing. It's the pressure that comes with that.
There's a bit more because I want to go back to the injuries and that, and I've mentioned it on our show.
He literally doesn't want to answer about Gyökeres or Seshko.
And it's not an attack, it's just a fact. How come we have so many hamstrings injuries at Arsenal? Saliba again at the weekend. How come? We all know, we all played. Usually is how you train.
I can't lie, that's actually annoyed me. That's the only thing that's annoyed me about Henry in this podcast. As a fan that has seen Arsenal be linked with Seshko, I want to know from Henry's perspective whether he's good or not. And the fact that Henry's gone back to talk about injuries with Saliba is kind of irrelevant. But he makes a point that even if we was to sign Gyökeres or Seshko or Isaac or whoever, they could get injured. And therefore it's pointless. So we have to fix our injury issues first and foremost. That's a priority that Arsenal should do.
You didn't do your ACL or you didn't, there are muscles injury. So for the last 3 years, go and check out how many hamstring injuries Arsenal did have. And it got worse. So surely, like I said, there's something to work on there because buying players, going to the right training camp, going to the right thing, doing your cold bath, hot bath, training well and not getting players injured, it's on the staff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on you, it's not on me, it's on the staff. So that's also a work that needs to be done because we can talk about getting whoever, and then what about if he pulls an hamstring also? Where do we go? We're gonna...
It's kind of true because Arsenal signed Calafiori and Mikel Merino. Both got injured within the first few weeks. Merino injured his arm in a tackle with Gabriel. Yet, Calafiori was injured throughout the whole international duty. Many times out for weeks and months. We didn't get to see the best of the Italian. So he's probably thinking, Seshko or Gyökeres is coming, they get injured, we might have to deal with them being out. Like with Jesus. But it's also weird he says about injuries and blaming the staff when someone like Thomas Partey's barely had an injury all season. And this guy was one of the most injury-pro players Arsenal have signed. Which is quite crazy when you think about it. And there he has a point. But Seshko or Gyökeres, we know he rates Alvarez, but Seshko or Gyökeres.
Look at who is on the bench. How many times the guy coming from the bench saved the season?
Yeah.
So I think it was last year, no? Allen went on 8 games without scoring or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Julian Alvarez. Bang, bang, bang. Riyad Mahrez before. Bang, bang, bang. Scoring goals. And then after, who scored the most? Allen. Yeah. But when Allen wasn't scoring or he was injured or he wasn't there, or whatever, Julian Alvarez, boom, goal. Riyad Mahrez, boom, goals. People always focus on the guy that's going to make difference. That guy will make the difference if everybody is on point. Because Kane, how many goals Kane scored you didn't win the title. So when
his point is that Kane was at Tottenham for so long, but they didn't have a backup attack ready to score the goals when he was out of form. It kind of does remind me of the times when we had Giroud and Welbeck up front. We needed a goal scorer to replace those two, and we didn't. We had Alexis Sanchez at the time, and Ozil putting chances on a plate, Cazorla. So he's got a massive point about, like, even if we sign Gyökeres or Seshko, who's going to be coming off the bench to get game-winning goals? We do have that with Trossard. Henry has probably forgotten to mention Trossard in that stage where he came off the bench and he was scoring goals and that, the previous striker that we were having with if Gabriel Jesus comes back fully fit, or Havertz was the player on the bench, he probably could do a good job. But it also brings back to a point where I made a video the other day. Liam Delap to Chelsea for £30 million. That's an inbox striker that could come on, get one or two chances later on in the game, and change the game. Or if we need him, say Seshko is out injured, he could come on, bang, 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 get a goal. Like Marino did when we needed him. Like Eddie Nketiah did a couple years back. You know, he doesn't even answer about Seshko or Gyökeres, whether they're good players. And that, for me, I think because it's 10 days at the time of writing, but Arsenal were always linked with those two players. The fact that he's not answered about those two does make me think, it's more controversial than him calling out the team for not winning a trophy. That's just my thing. I think like I'm more interested in what does Henry actually think, whether then instead of that, why is he criticised Arteta?
I still think we need a 9. And it's not because you go on a run of 15 and then suddenly we don't win or we don't score, we don't have a 9. But when we score, I don't hear anyone saying we need a 9.
For me, this was the most interesting part of the podcast that isn't being spoken about enough. Everyone's talking about Henry, about what he said about Arsenal and Arteta. But he opened our eyes on something that really makes me feel stupid as an Arsenal fan.
I'm going in behind. So then he started everything. So yes, we took the credit, and yes, we're Ashley Cole.
Yeah.
Ashley Cole for me, is if there's a battle for him not to be the best left back I've seen. Me. I'm not talking about everybody. Ashley Cole.
Yeah.
Going forward, defending, the desire, what he won, why he won it.
Was it because he left Arsenal?
Maybe I was thinking that, yeah. That
No, I'll tell you what,
perception of it,
but what I didn't like, so first and foremost, Ashley Cole is an Arsenal man. All families support
Yeah.
Arsenal. And for me, I don't care what people say. Ashley Cole is Arsenal. Yes, Ashley Cole is Arsenal.
But
And-
the perception maybe.
Yeah, because at the time he didn't want to say what happened since Mr. Dean apologized. Because they shook hand on something
Yeah.
and they came back with something else.
Change the deal on him.
Renee.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I saw myself at Juve being disrespected.
Yes.
I understood, Ashley. I understood, Ashley. If you shake hand with someone and you look and you come on the Monday, it's not the same thing. And since Mr. Dean apologized,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
so there you go. So,
Yeah.
but why still people don't give that guy his respect about everything that he has done? I've never seen. I mean, Ashley Cole was outstanding.
I think he was brilliant player, but if you talk about great left backs, he doesn't spring to my mind.
but why not?
I know, I just weird. But when you
That, for me, makes me angry about why we let him go. Throughout growing up, I believe that Chelsea stole Cole from Arsenal. That Ashley Cole betrayed Arsenal for more money. Cashley Cole. That he betrayed Arsenal. Even in the podcast, he came out and said, nah, it wasn't about that. It was... They made a promise they couldn't keep, and they lied to me. He was actually right. And then Ashley Cole, after that, has gone on to win more league titles, a Champions League, multiple FA Cups, Carabao Cups, while we have not won anything until 2013, bro. We grew up hating on Ashley Cole. When it was Arsenal, David Dean that done him wrong. And I don't get why people are not speaking about that. And the legend in Arsenal Football Club, Henry, what is getting cussed out for criticising Arteta when he knows Arteta's doing a good job, but then would defend Cole. Come off it, man. Come off it. Like, and even then he brings up the past about Juventus. I never knew this, but he was told to go on loan to Udinese, yeah, so that Juventus could get an Udinese player. And Henry literally said to him, why don't you send Del Piero on loan? You could trust him to do well. And then he left for Arsenal. So, and it opens my mind about these things. When you look at Mount to Manchester United, was he disrespected by Chelsea? Everybody doesn't like Mount nowadays. Even Gallas to Tottenham, Adebayor, like, these players, their stories, it makes me angry. Not Arteta being called out for something he should be doing, for something that if Arteta looks at it himself in the mirror, he would be angry about. The fact that he's not won another FA Cup, not added to the 2 Community Shields. But yeah, anger aside, honestly, I do rate the Stick to Football podcast. Henry was a lot better on this podcast than Sol Campbell. Thierry Henry made the conversation blossom. He let it flow, but if you've watched the podcast, you will see how much they all listen to him and they admire him. In fact, one of my favourite parts was Jill Scott outlining to him that of his hat-trick of assists for Freddie Ljungberg, and how the Sunderland fans all clapped for him, and how that was a pivotal moment in getting 20 goals, 20 assists, despite losing Golden Boot to Ruud van Nistelrooy. And honestly, this podcast was sensational to listen to. It's literally like 5 friends having a discussion, watch the guy achieve so much, and then just listening to him tell stories. It's like when you're talking to your granddad talk about his career. It was quite cool. And you could tell they let him speak, without interrupting him, without trying to debate him on his subjects, without just pushing the same question, the same agenda. And I really do enjoy the podcast. I think Ian Wright and could have added a bit more as an Arsenal man. I think Jamie Carragher does ask Henry pretty well about Seshko and Gyökeres to get the answer, which he focuses more on injuries. I think Gary Neville, his level of calmness and asking questions as an interviewer, he is very good at reading a room, knowing when to speak, what to speak, and that is class. Punditry aside, controversy about Arsenal aside, you've also got Roy Keane, one-liners every 20 minutes. He made 7 funny jokes, one-liners in the topics that they were speaking about that made everybody laugh. And Jill Scott is just a lovable auntie. That's the best way to describe it. Carragher also had a good impact on the show. And I think the Stick to Football podcast is a very good podcast to listen to when, I think for a person that's older than me, because they could just look back on the good times. Growing up, my memory of Henry was Fly Emirates. The Henry that was wearing the red and white Arsenal shirt with Fly Emirates, heading the ball in the back of the net against Man United, just jogging away, dancing alongside Adebayor. And then him skinning past Carragher in the FA Cup. So, and this is a player that I've admired as a manager, as a person, as a pundit. Everybody respects him. Everybody knows how good he was. Everybody knows this is a winner that has won the FA Cup, the World Cup, the Euros, La Liga, Champions League. He's had multiple successes. He's played under Ancelotti, Marcello Lippi, which he speaks about at Juventus, Wenger, Guardiola, comparing the two, how they were in conversation. But also the contrast in managerial styles, the willingness to win, the criticisms of Arsenal, but also what it felt like to get 20 goals and an assist. This guy has the most goals for Arsenal, yet values an assist more. That values pressing. That I think would be so excited at the prospect of Rodrigo coming to Arsenal. But yeah, Henry is a football icon, a football legend that deserves unlimited flowers from Arsenal fans. And for those that are going to cuss him out saying he's a failed manager, he has every right to criticise Arsenal. He's an Arsenal legend. Can he do a job at Arsenal? I think the only way he would succeed at Arsenal was to become an assistant manager of the club and then take over. Let me know what you think in the comments. I thought this podcast was very good. You can be Arteta in, but also agree with what Henry is saying. You don't need to cry about it. The podcast was class. A good listen for 90 minutes. That's my overall analysis. Hit the like button. Subscribe. In a bit, people. In a bit. I'm out!